Undercover CEO denied a room in her own hotel. She makes them regret it instantly. They say hospitality is a promise. A quiet vow that no matter who you are, where you come from, or how tired you look, there's always a place for you. A bed, a key, a welcome, but promises mean nothing without people who honor them. Evelyn Ashford stood just beyond the glowing archway of the Brighton Crown Hotel, watching the golden light spill through its glass doors onto the wet pavement. She had once called it her proudest achievement, the flagship of her boutique chain, personalized luxury, 5-star service, a hotel that made everyone feel like royalty, even if they came in off a red-eye flight, with wrinkled clothes and an empty wallet. Tonight, Evelyn looked like someone who didn't belong. No sleek blazer, no name badge. Her hair was pulled into a low bun, her jeans were scuffed from travel, and the rain had soaked through her oversized coat. No one would recognize her as the founder, the CEO, and that was the point. She wasn't here to be admired. She was here to see if her hotel still lived by the values she poured into it. She crossed the street, suitcase wheels hissing against the pavement. The front desk came into view, bright and busy. Evelyn stepped through the doors, took a breath of that signature vanilla citrus scent, and something in her gut tightened. This place looked polished, but something was off, and in the next few minutes, someone behind that desk would make the mistake of treating her like a nobody. A mistake that would change everything. If you believe respect should never depend on appearance, follow for stories that speak the truth. The Brighton Crown lobby gleamed with modern elegance. Brass fixtures, marble floors, and soft jazz playing over the speakers. Evelyn wheeled her suitcase across the floor, dripping slightly onto the spotless tile, earning a subtle side-eye from a concierge polishing a vase of orchids. She paused near the front desk, watching. 2 receptionists were working. One, a young woman with a professional but tired face, was checking in a group of guests with warmth and practiced ease. The other, a tall man in a fitted vest and perfectly styled hair, leaned lazily against the counter, tapping at his phone. Evelyn approached him. "Evening," she said gently. "I was hoping to get a room, nothing fancy, just one night. Do you have anything available?" He glanced up, barely lifting his head. "We're booked." "Oh." She looked past him. The digital display behind the desk glowed clearly. 4 rooms available. Premium King, Executive Suite, and Standard Queen. "I saw the sign says you have a few rooms still." He cut her off with a half smirk. "Yeah, well, those aren't walk-in rooms. They're for VIP bookings only. You'd need a corporate code or loyalty status for that." Evelyn paused. "I see. Is there a manager I can speak with?" He snorted under his breath and leaned back against the counter. "Ma'am, look, I've had a long day. It's pouring outside. We're short-staffed, and I'm not about to jump through hoops over some website glitch. You don't look like a V. Why don't you try the Comfort Inn a few blocks down?" His voice wasn't loud, but it was loud enough. The couple behind Evelyn shifted awkwardly. The tired receptionist, 2 desks over, paused, her fingers hovering above the keyboard. Evelyn's stomach turned, not with anger, with heartbreak. Not because she was denied a room, but because this desk, this brand, was hers. And this wasn't a rogue bad apple. This was a rot that had settled under her watch. The man turned back to his phone, without another word. Evelyn stepped aside, quietly observing. A few minutes later, the phone rang behind the desk. The man let it go twice, before answering with a robotic, "Brighton Crown, please hold." Then he rolled his eyes, and placed the call on eternal hold, without a second thought. Moments later, a woman walked up, mid-30s, well-dressed, holding a designer bay and a luxury pet carrier. The man's posture changed instantly. "Welcome to the Crown. Checking in tonight?" he beamed. Evelyn watched in silence, as he bent over backward for her, upgraded her room, offered complimentary spa credits. All smiles. All because of a label. Evelyn took a few steps back, resting near a large potted plant in the corner. The tired receptionist caught her eye, and gave a faint, apologetic glance. Evelyn nodded once, and then, she heard it. From behind the counter, a whisper. "The man, he's name tag Red Rider." was laughing under his breath to another employee who had come up from the back hallway. Some people think if they look pitiful enough, we'll pity book them. Lady looked like she crawled out of a Greyhound station. She's lucky I didn't call security. Evelyn's chest tightened. He wasn't just rude, he was proud of it. And this was her wake-up call. If this moment shocked you, keep watching. The truth about power, and how people choose to use it, will always come out, in the end. Evelyn sat quietly in the hotel cafe, cradling a cup of burnt coffee that hadn't been refreshed in hours. Rain tapped the windows like a ticking clock. She wasn't there for caffeine, she was watching. From her corner table, she could see the front desk, the guest elevators, and the hallway leading to staff-only areas. It was her hotel, every inch of it mapped in her memory, from blueprints to brand guidelines. But tonight, it felt foreign, corporate, hollow, and worse, it felt unfamiliar by design. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through the internal employee portal she still had executive access to, and searched for Ritter Langley. There he was, front desk supervisor, hired 10 months ago, transferred from a sister location in Miami. A few minor complaints in the system, dismissive tone, cold with walk-ins, but nothing flagged. And that was the problem. No one flagged anything anymore, unless it was catastrophic. She opened his supervisor file. The manager who signed off on his last evaluation? Tina Hargrove, acting general manager, promoted when the previous GM, Benji Martin, retired. Evelyn raised a brow. Benji had been her right hand for nearly a decade. If he stepped away, he would have said something, unless he didn't know the full story. She searched again. Benji Martin, former GM, Brighton Crown. Exit reason, medical leave, non-return. No ceremony. No send-off. Just disappeared. Herr Gutzank. She clicked on Tina's profile. Fast-tracked. Minimal experience in actual guest services. Mostly corporate side admin. According to her notes, she had streamlined front desk processes, reprioritized high-value guest engagement. Evelyn nearly scoffed. High-value guest engagement. Code 4. Treat people like numbers, unless they flash platinum cards. Her hotel had become a place of selective hospitality, and the ones who made the place human, the Benjis, the longtime staffers, the ones who remembered birthdays, and offered umbrellas in the rain, they were being replaced, erased. She closed the portal, and looked up. Across the lobby, the young woman from the front desk, the one who gave her that silent apology earlier, was stepping out for a break. Her name Tegreed, Marisol. Evelyn stood, tossed her untouched coffee, and followed her out. Outside, Marisol lit a cigarette with shaky hands, her shoulders hunched under the cold drizzle. Evelyn approached quietly. "Mind if I stand here a minute?" she asked. Marisol looked over, and gave a small nod. "Sure, you okay?" Evelyn smiled faintly. "Long day." Marisol took a drag, exhaled slowly. "You're not the first person he's turned away." Evelyn glanced at her. "Ruda?" She nodded. "He thinks anyone without a diamond, tier card, is wasting his time. Guests feel it. Staff does too. You ever report it?" Marisol gave a dry laugh. "To who? Tina? She's the one who hired him. Said we need to protect the brand image by being more selective." Evelyn's stomach turned. Benji would have never let that happen. Marisol added quietly. Evelyn's voice dropped. "What happened to him?" Marisol's eyes softened. "They said he was retiring, but we all knew better. He got sick. Took a few weeks off. When he came back, his position was gone." Evelyn stared out at the street, the rain blurring the lights. She came looking for a broken policy, but now, she'd found something worse. A broken culture. And if the front desk thought she was just another guest, they were about to learn exactly whose house they were standing in. There's more where this came from. Follow for the next part of this real story. About respect, loyalty, and what happens when a leader comes home. Evelyn waited until the lobby began to settle. The late check-ins were mostly handled. The jazz had faded into soft instrumentals. Ryder, still smug behind the counter, was chatting with a bellhop, laughing, cocky, relaxed. He had no idea that the woman he dismissed hours earlier had once helped lay the first tile beneath his polished shoes. She took a slow breath, then walked toward the desk. This time, with purpose. "Excuse me," she said. Reader turned, brows raised. The smirk reappeared. "Ma'am, I already explained." Evelyn pulled out her wallet, opened it, and placed her black, matte-finished, Founder's Access card on the desk. Ryder froze. The card was unmistakable. Only one person in the entire company had one. The woman whose name was on the plaque, near the entrance. The name embroidered on the staff blazers. Evelyn Ashford. His throat bobbed. Wait, are you? She met his gaze, her voice like glass. "Yes, I'm Evelyn Ashford." His mouth fell open. "Ma'am, I didn't realize. If I'd known." "But you didn't know," she said. Her voice low, calm, lethal. "And that's the point, isn't it?" With a stammer. His eyes darting to the security camera above them. "Two thought you were just what?" Evelyn asked. "Someone not worth your time? Someone whose shoes didn't shine enough to be treated with dignity?" His jaw worked, but nothing came out. Across the lobby, Marisol had paused mid-step, watching the scene unfold. Evelyn leaned in slightly, voice quieta now. "I created this hotel so that everyone, no matter how tired, how broke, how invisible, felt seen, safe, welcome. That was our mission, our heart. And tonight, you spat on it." He opened his mouth again. She raised a hand. You don't need to say anything. You've already said enough." A tense silence pulsed between them. Then Evelyn turned, eyes scanning the hallway. "Is Tina still in the office?" Ryder nodded slowly. Yes. "Good. Then you can both meet me there. Now." She didn't wait for an answer. 5 minutes later, Tina was standing stiff in the tiny back office. Suddenly very pale. Evelyn didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She laid everything out. The denial, the false room availability, the casual cruelty, the mocking comment about sending her to the Comfort Inn. Tina tried to save face. "Miss Ashford, I assure you Ryder has been a consistent performer. We're simply trying to prioritize high-tier clientele, to maintain our reputation." Evelyn's stare could have cracked glass. "Reputation," she repeated. "A reputation built on kindness, on inclusion, on people like Benji Martin, who made this hotel feel like home. Where is he in your model?" Tina hesitated. "He wasn't scalable." Evelyn's heart broke again. "Neither is compassion," she said softly. "But without it, we're just a building." She stood, the chair scraping quietly behind her. "You've both forgotten what this place stands for. But I haven't. And with that, Evelyn made her decision, one that would send shockwaves through the entire hotel chain. If this moment made your heart pound, follow for the next part of this powerful, real-life story. Some leaders don't just talk, they act. Evelyn sat alone in the penthouse suite. She never requested. After the confrontation, Tina had scrambled to make things right, rushing to comp the most expensive room, sending up a cheese board, even offering a spa voucher. But none of it mattered. Not now. The glass walls looked out over the city skyline, but Evelyn barely noticed the view. Her eyes were locked on the framed vision statement, hanging near the minibar. She had written it herself, 10 years ago, during the launch of the Brighton Crown. A place where everyone belongs. No exceptions. No assumptions. It felt like a lie now. The guilt curled in her stomach. Like smoke. She had left something beautiful in someone else's hands, and in chasing scale, growth, investments, efficiency, she had drifted from the very thing that made her hotels human. She thought back to Benji, the man who showed up every Christmas in a Santa hut, even when he had no family of his own. The man who personally delivered room service to elderly guests. When staff was short, he didn't retire. He was pushed. She pulled out her laptop and searched his contact. Benji Martin, no longer active in company systems. Evelyn opened a private HR archive and dug deeper. There it was. Medical leave request, denied. Job reassignment. Offer, refused. Exit recorded as voluntary separation. She blinked back the sting. In her eyes. He had served the company for over a decade. And when he got sick, they stripped his title and offered him a desk role in a satellite office. He declined, and they quietly erased him. It wasn't a glitch. It was a pattern. She could feel it now, thread by thread. How the culture she created had been rebranded and rewritten by people who didn't understand the heart behind the brand. People who knew spreadsheets, not stories. She'd built a home, and somewhere along the line, it had become a transaction. Evelyn closed the laptop and leaned back, the room silent, except for the hum of the HVAC. Her reflection in the window didn't look powerful. It looked haunted. She remembered the first guest she ever helped, an exhausted single mother who'd been turned away from 2 other hotels because her card kept declining. Evelyn had personally comped her room, had made her a cup of tea in the back office, had carried her toddler upstairs herself. That was what the Brighton crown was supposed to be. She whispered into the dark. I stopped paying attention, and there it was. The hard, unvarnished truth. Not that she'd been cruel, but that she'd been absent, and that absence had made room for people like Tina, like Ritter, people who confused power with permission. But she wasn't absent anymore. Tomorrow, she wouldn't just make a statement. She'd make it impossible for anyone in this company to ever forget what the Brighton crown stood for. If you've ever realized too late that something precious was slipping away, follow for the next chapter, because real leaders own their mistakes and fight to make them right. The next morning, the hotel buzzed with rumors. The woman in the rain? The one Ryder had brushed off? That was Evelyn Ashford. The Evelyn, founder, CEO, queen of boutique hospitality. Some staff panicked, others felt vindicated, and a few, like Marisol, walked a little taller. By 8 a.m., Evelyn was in the office again, this time in full command. She wasn't here to make a scene. She was here to correct a course. She called a private meeting with Tina, the acting GM. Tina walked in cautiously, heels clicking on the floor, her confidence from the night before already cracked. She held a tablet in her hands, like a shield. Miss Ashford, first allow me to apologize for everything that happened. It was. Evelyn raised a hand. We're past that. I'm not looking for apologies. I'm looking for clarity. Tina nodded slowly. I've reviewed your record, Evelyn continued. Numbers are strong. Guest retention is up, but you failed in the one metric. We never compromise on heart. Tina flinched, but tried to maintain her composure. With all due respect, Evelyn, I've streamlined operations. I've eliminated delays, reduced loss, and doubled premium bookings. I was following the new strategic framework, passed down last quarter, and that framework was a guideline, Evelyn said, voice firm, but level. Not a license to gut our culture. Tina looked down. Evelyn slid a sealed envelope across the table. Inside is a revised offer. A chance to stay on, as operations coordinator, with mentorship. You won't be running this hotel, but you'll still be a part of it, if you're willing to rebuild from the ground up. Tina's eyes widened. You are demoting me? I'm inviting you, Evelyn replied. To start over. To grow into the leader this place needs. Tina slowly opened the envelope. Her hands trembled slightly as she read the new contract. Lower salary. Different title, but not a firing. A lifeline. But she looked up, jaw tight. I've been running this property for months, she said. I've made sacrifices, made this place profitable, and now you want me to hand it back? Evelyn nodded. Yes, because I gave you something sacred, and you made it cold. I'm zipped. Tina stared at the contract for a long moment, then pushed it back. I can't do that. No, Evelyn said softly. You won't. Tina stood, smoothing her blazer. I'll clear my office by end of day. Evelyn nodded. Thank you. Antithesis isn't the end, unless you choose it to be. But leadership without compassion is just authority, and that's not what we build here. Tina hesitated, but said nothing. She walked out, heels quiet this time. Evelyn sat back in the silence, letting the moment settle. She had offered a hand, and it had been slapped away. But not everyone would. The ones worth fighting for were still here, waiting, watching, and the next person she reached out to wouldn't push it away. If this chapter hit home, follow for the turning point ahead, because when one door closes, a better one often opens, for someone who truly deserves it. By noon, word had spread. Tina was out. Some staff cheered quietly in the break room, others worried about what came next. But Evelyn didn't leave room for fear. She stepped back into the heart of the hotel, not as a CEO sitting behind glass, but as a woman with rolled-up sleeves and something to prove. Her first stop was the front desk. Ryder stood rigidly when he saw her approaching, lips tight. "Your employment is terminated effective immediately," Evelyn said calmly, handing him a printed letter. "I wish you the best. But this brand cannot carry people who disrespect the very guests who trust us with their comfort." He opened his mouth to argue. She cut him off with a glance. "There's no appeal process," she added. "I heard you." Everyone did. Security didn't escort him out. Evelyn did. She walked him to the door, not out of cruelty, but clarity. She was showing everyone what leadership looked like, not fear. Standards. She turned back to the lobby. All eyes were on her. She smiled gently and raised her voice. "Starting today, we rebuild together." She called an all-hands staff meeting. In the ballroom, now repurposed with chairs in a circle, Evelyn stood without a podium. No PowerPoint. No press team. Just her, face to face, with the people who made the hotel run. "I forgot," she began. "I forgot what this place was, and who makes it that way." "You do." The front desk, housekeeping, kitchen staff, bellhops. "You are not numbers. You are the brand." She paused, letting it sink in. "I am reinstating our core values. Compassion. Care. Inclusion. Starting immediately, every staff member, no matter rank or role, will receive hospitality retraining, based on our founding values. And yes, I'll be attending every session with you." Gasps. A few stunned smiles. "And to make sure this isn't just talk," she continued, "I'm also creating a guest dignity fund. Any staff member can comp a night. For someone in crisis. No manager approval needed. Trust is back. And so is humanity." Hands went up. Questions. Ideas. Concerns. She took everyone, not defensively. Presently, later that afternoon, Evelyn entered the staff kitchen. The coffee machine was broken. She called a repair tech herself. Then she rolled up her sleeves and started handing out fresh-baked cookies she'd had delivered from a local bakery. "Little things," she told Marisol. "They become big things." Marisol smiled, more relaxed than Evelyn had ever seen her. "You're really doing it," she said. "You're not just cleaning house. You're filling it again." Evelyn smiled. "That's the idea." She finished the day at the front desk, taking walk-in reservations herself, greeted every guest by name, remembered their pets, reached out, shook hands, thanked them for choosing home over any old hotel, and slowly, the Brighton Crown began to feel like its name again. A place of dignity, a place of warmth, a place of belonging. There's more where this came from. Follow for the powerful return ahead. The past is calling, and it just might carry the future with it. The Brighton Crown was changing, and people noticed. The tone had shifted. Employees smiled with their eyes again. Guests lingered in the lobby longer, not because they had to, but because the space felt safe, lived in, real. And behind the scenes, Evelyn didn't slow down. She made her calls. One in particular. Benny Martin. She hadn't spoken to him in almost a year. Not since the day HR quietly removed his profile from the executive directory and replaced it with an internal memo. Position phased out. She'd believed the corporate version of events until she saw the cost of her own distance with her own eyes. Now, she held the phone against her ear, heart pounding, like it was her first job interview. It rang twice, then his voice. "Hello? Benji, it's Evelyn." A long pause. "I was wondering when you'd call," he said, not cold, but guarded. "I owe you more than a call," she replied. "I owe you a proper thank you, and an apology." The conversation that followed was quiet, heavy, human. She told him everything. What she saw, what she missed, and what she'd started to rebuild. She didn't sugarcoat. She didn't spin. When she invited him back, not out of pity, but partnership, he didn't respond right away. He asked for time. She gave it. And 4 days later, he walked through the front doors. Slower than she remembered. A bit grayer. But his presence hadn't faded. Staff lit up the moment they saw him. Especially Marisol, who ran from behind the counter to hug him without hesitation. "I'm not here to take back what's gone," he told Evelyn. "But if you're serious about this, I'll help you build it forward." "I don't want to go back," Evelyn said softly. "I want us to go better." Oh. That evening, she introduced him not as the returning GM, or special advisor, but simply as Benji, the heart of this place. Before it had a name, he took his place behind the front desk, side by side with Marisol, helping a young couple check in, with a fussy baby and tired eyes. He upgraded their room, without hesitation, and when the father reached for his wallet, Benji shook his head gently. "You take care of them, we'll take care of you." Evelyn watched from across the lobby. Tears welled behind her eyes. But not from sadness. From rightness. The soul of the Brighton crown hadn't been lost. It had just been waiting. Waiting for someone to come back. Waiting for someone to care again. And now, the heart that once beat strong was back where it belonged. If this part gave you goosebumps, follow for the emotional final chapters. Because some people aren't just returning, they're restoring everything we forgot to cherish. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It happened in the everyday. In the quiet way, Marisol now walked into work, with confidence instead of dread, in how Benji knew the names of every staff member's kids. By his second week back, in the little welcome notes slipped under guest doors, handwritten, not printed, Evelyn didn't just fix a few policies. She rebuilt the culture. And she didn't do it alone. She asked. She listened. She showed up. The hotel staff was invited to join daily stand-ups. Real conversations, where even the overnight janitor had a voice. When someone spoke, Evelyn didn't interrupt. She took notes, asked follow-up questions. It wasn't just symbolic. It was personal. Together, she and Benji launched a new program. The Golden Standard Initiative. A monthly staff spotlight, where kindness, not just efficiency, earned you recognition. Marisol was the first honoree. She cried when she accepted her certificate, and a bonus Evelyn insisted be given in cash. "It's not just for bills," Evelyn whispered. "It's for believing again." Guests noticed, too. Online reviews changed, from decent stay to felt like home. One said, "I checked in exhausted, and left reminded of my worth." There's magic here again. But the most profound moment came during a rainy Tuesday breakfast service. Evelyn was refilling coffee in the lounge. Yes, herself. When she overheard a woman at the next table whisper to her husband, "You can tell someone loves this place again." And Evelyn smiled. Because love isn't a product. It's not a metric on a spreadsheet. It's in the napkins folded with care. The second pillow offered without being asked. The umbrella left by the door. For strangers to borrow. When storms roll in. It's in the way people are treated. Especially when no one is watching. She turned to see Benji, teaching a new hire how to program a keycard, his hand steady, his tone gentle. Marisol walked by, with a tray of tea, and gave Evelyn a small, knowing nod. Things were not just back to normal. They were better than they had ever been. Because they weren't rebuilding from old pieces. They were creating something new together. A hotel that didn't just offer shelter, but restoration. A place where people like Kevin, or Benji, or that tired single mom Evelyn had helped a decade ago, wouldn't be turned away for not looking the part. No more velvet ropes around dignity. Just open doors and open hearts. As guests trickled in for lunch, Evelyn paused at the front entrance, watching them laugh, check in, look around, with soft, curious smiles. She stood there for a moment, hand on the brass handle of the door she once feared, had closed for good. Not anymore. The Brighton crown had returned to what it was always meant to be, a place to belong. Don't miss the emotional final chapter. If this story moved you, consider subscribing for more true stories that remind us how far a little human decency can go. The sun was setting behind the Brighton crown, casting a warm amber glow across the marble floors. Evelyn, once feared, had grown cold. She stood quietly near the front desk, not as the CEO tonight, but as a witness, watching her team, her people, do what they were born to do. Benji laughed as he helped a guest find a late-night pharmacy. Marisol checked in an elderly couple, offering them warm cider, just because. The lobby buzzed with life. Not loud, not frantic, just full. A boy tugged on Evelyn's coat. She looked down, to find a wide-eyed child, maybe 8, holding a room keycard. "Are you the boss, lady?" Evelyn smiled. "Something like that. My mom says this is the nicest hotel she's ever been in," he whispered. "Not 'cause it's big, 'cause people are nice here." Evelyn crouched to meet his eyes. "Well," she said, voice catching, "that's the best review we've ever had." He grinned, gave her a spontaneous hug, and ran back to his mother. Evelyn stood again, blinking back tears. She looked up, at the large mirror above the entryway, and for the first time in years, she saw herself, not as a brand, or a bottom line, but as a leader, worth following. As she turned to go, Benji caught her eye from across the room. He gave her a single nod. She returned it, and just before stepping out, into the cool evening, she whispered under her breath, "We're back." If this story made you feel something real, consider subscribing. There's more to come, because when you lead with heart, you don't just change a business, you change lives.